All right, hey everybody. Thank you so much for being here with me. My name is Tia. I perform as Low Iron. I don't know if anybody knows who I am at all, but you know, I'm around. Hey, yeah, what's up? No, it's really good to see familiar faces and new faces too. I think that with my hour, I'm gonna give you a little bit of history and a little bit of philosophy, but I'm also obviously gonna get into the controller part of things, but I'm not gonna start with that. So ignore this for a second. So first I wanna talk about resources and where to find resources beyond this class, because this is not intended to be, it's not intended to cover everything that there is to know about DJing. It's 101, and it's really about mixing. So YouTube is a great place to start. I highly recommend looking up specific equipment types and watching videos on it and just looking at different videos of different people doing different things, and also talking to people that you know that do the thing that you want to learn how to do. That's also a great way, because honestly the crux of all this is connecting people and sharing information, sharing a feeling, so it's important to talk to your neighbor and get help from people in real life, as well as YouTube when they're not available. So when I got started, people were probably my greatest resource, so I definitely stress that, reaching out to your neighbor to get more information. So I'm gonna move so I'm not staring at my controller and looking.
But
Or we can use this guy for a moment.
Oh, wait, I'm back. Oh, okay.
it's about to die again. But can I hand this to you for a second? Then by the time you go to use your controller,
Hello.
you can put this on the back again. I think if you.
Okay, I got you. I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's definitely another thing that happens when you're DJing. Unexpected things happen and you have to be prepared. Flexible. Okay. Yeah, so I kind of want to move around, and also feel free to raise a hand if I'm talking too fast, because I do that when I'm nervous, and I am a little nervous looking at all of you right now. But yeah, so my philosophy and I guess my argument today, what I think is really important to know is that the original role of the DJ was just a selector. It wasn't about mixing. It wasn't about having the newest equipment and having the most expensive mixer or whatever. It was just about choosing music for other people to listen to and having the courage to do that. And I think that the only thing that really separates, people who have DJ'd and people who want to DJ is just making that choice, because we all probably engage in the act of making playlists and sharing music and things like that, because it's a way that we share things about ourselves. So I think it's important to understand that anybody can be a DJ, and we probably are all doing it more often than we realize. So how many people are usually like the designated aux person? Okay, people want you to play your music because you have really good music in your library. Yeah, or even people who have DJ'd before at a party. Any DJs in the room? Oh, hey, y'all. But yeah, whether you have done it before or not, I think that I'll be sharing some things that should be helpful in getting started or just continuing on. So, oops.
I was gonna say we should be good.
Oh, okay.
I think that one that's on you.
Hey.
Except we're getting quite a bit of feedback, but.
That's like a gong.
Okay.
Okay. Are y'all with me? I'm sorry, I'm having a couple technical difficulties. I just want to make sure I'm still. I got y'all. Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. So yeah, specifically what I do, I want to make people dance. I like to dance at parties. I like to dance at the family function. I like to dance in my mirror. Can anybody relate? Yeah, okay, that's a great start, right? I got more hands for that than I saw for people who are designated aux people or people who have DJ before. So I think the thing that really unites us is that we have a reverence for the music and we dance. We like to show that through dancing. I think that that's like a key piece in all of this, in my philosophy of the DJ's role. And I also think that dancing really is helpful when you go to touch the controller and you're trying to keep a beat and mix songs together and things like that. So if you already got the rhythm, you're halfway there, So yeah. I want to point out the handout first. So the handout that you have, it shows a picture of CDJs and a mixer, which is like the industry standard. So if you were going to play at a club, they might have that set up available for you. So you would just bring your USB, plug in, and play. So that's why I included a picture of that. And also what is pictured here, my controller is not the same thing, but there are a lot of similarities to it. So I wanted to provide you that blank diagram. So if you want to make notes about what things do as I show you, you're free to. And also, there's a there's a space for notes, excuse me, and also a little key terms thing. And in the very bottom on the right-hand side, if you scan that QR code, you can see my Instagram. I feel like that's like a little awkward to plug, but I just want you all to reach out to me and feel free to reach out to me after this if you have any questions. If you want to, I don't know, get coffee or something, that's cool. Like, feel free to reach out. I am a resource to you as well as YouTube and your friends and other DJs that you might know. So yeah, today I'm gonna be going over, I already kind of gave you my intro, I gave you my philosophy a little bit, and I'm also gonna be covering controller basics, so the anatomy of this thing, how to load your tracks, and I'm gonna be talking about softwares, different softwares to do that, and volume control. So this is just more specific about the controls on here, and a critical piece in mixing songs together. And then finally, I'm gonna show you how to mix some songs, and I'm gonna give you a little dance party on this Saturday afternoon, so I hope you're all ready to dance a little bit. Honestly, if I had a longer session, I would have made y'all dance with me. We would have did a warm up, so I could shake my jitters off and get y'all warmed up, Also, another thing, I want y'all to think about your DJ names. Okay? Think about your DJ names today and share them with me, okay? Scan the QR code, follow me, and tell me what you thought, okay? So yeah, controller basics. First, I want to point out that depending on the genre of music that you play, you might need different skill sets and you might use different things on this thing. And you might not use certain things on this thing, depending on what kind of music and what kind of thing you're going for out in the party, whether you're playing for your friends, you're playing in your bedroom, whatever. Even if you don't have a controller, I want to stress that too. You can still DJ. I was talking to somebody earlier, thank you so much for asking. What's your name?
Anthony.
Anthony asked me earlier if I had any recommendations for softwares, just virtual softwares to start DJing, and I highly recommend Virtual DJ because you don't need a controller in order to, mess around with that and record your mixes and things like that. I believe that you can do that without having a controller. But other softwares, popular ones are Rekordbox, and another one is Serato. Typically speaking, you have to have some kind of equipment in order to record your mixes and have full access to those softwares, just so you know. So not only will you be confronted with different softwares, different equipment, depending on where you're playing and what you're doing, you're also gonna use different skill sets. You're gonna create your own toolbox as a DJ. You're gonna make your own decisions on how you wanna play the music. And somebody is trusting you to do that. Somebody trusted you with the aux, with the entire vibe of the room and the party. That is pretty serious. I take it seriously. And I think it's important to be mindful of that when we're making decisions up here for the crowd. But knowing that you have a choice in how you want to do it is really important. So yeah, this thing. This freaking thing. Honestly, DJing is so fun. Let me say that. Making people dance is so fun. I don't know if that's people's goal. How many people want to be on the radio? Heck yeah. Yes. Yes. So radio personalities started this. Radio personalities were the original DJs. They were the selectors. And they didn't mix. It wasn't about mixing. It wasn't about that. It was about continuous music. So the people that are choosing to go into that, you will use a different skill set on the radio versus if you're in a party trying to keep momentum going and not wanting to let lulls in the song come up and things like that. That being said, what I do is geared towards dancing, so my demonstration will be like that. However, as I said in the beginning, there's plenty of resources out there for you to find what you're looking for. Ask people, be curious, keep learning. I'm still learning so much. How much time I got? Okay, cool. So now I'm actually going to bring your attention to the controller. I want to talk about the anatomy of it. What I'm playing on is an XDJ-RR. Just basic things. You can see the name of the equipment usually on it, which is really important. Like if you're getting prepared for a gig or whatever, you're just curious about how something works. That's your first thing when you're looking for further information. It'll also show you what software it takes somewhere on it usually. And it also shows you the kind of tracks, the kind of files that it will accept and recognize on the controller. Here are the jog wheels, is what they're called. And I do believe that that's a digital term. I don't think that, like turntables, I don't think these would be called jog wheels. I think it would just be records and the platter. But anyway, so these are called jog wheels. Jog wheels, JOGWEEL. You're making me spell and stuff. But no. So yeah, these are jog wheels, very important in controlling tempo and maybe doing scratching if you were interested. That's what I was saying about different skill sets. Hip hop DJs tend to scratch their music, quick cuts and things like that. If you're playing house music, you might have longer transitions where you don't need the quick scratching. You probably won't ever touch the top of this thing if you're playing house music. Whereas a hip hop DJ is cutting and scratching and, you know, the whole bit. Whatever you choose to do, you will find your niche and tailor your toolbox to that. As I was saying before, when you are approaching a controller or using a software or using equipment, you have to have your tracks formatted for that software typically. And I can't show you how to do that because I don't have a laptop available to me, but YouTube University will help you, okay? So you have to have the right tracks. You have to have the right files. So this controller takes MP3, AAC, waves, and the other thing. And I have to put them through Rekordbox in order for them to be recognized on this controller. If I had a different set of equipment, I would have to do it for that software, and so on and so on. So let's actually, I'm gonna start from the beginning and plug my flash drive in just to show you what that looks like. Okay, so I plugged my flash drive in and my USB is recognized by the controller. I have a couple of lists here. I have artists. Can you see that up there? Okay. I have artists, album, track, key, whatever. I have history from previous sets that I played where I can see the order that I played things in. And I can also search things here. And that's going to look different on different controllers, but it is very helpful. However, it's more helpful to be prepared for a set so that you're not searching. Because that pressure, you feel it when you're about to run out of some time and you don't want the music to stop. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You should definitely organize. I highly recommend organizing your tracks by genre. So instead of searching, you can search through a playlist of similar music so you can keep the momentum going in times where you're running out of time or you weren't as prepared as you wanted to be. But I might be getting ahead of myself. So anyway, loading your USB, you plug it in, you choose a track. I have a playlist for today, so I'm gonna go to my PhillyCAM playlist. And if I wanna load a track, I choose load 1 or 2, and this is gonna look different on different controllers. Sometimes if you have a laptop, you'll drag the track to where you want it to go. You kind of have to be flexible and dynamic when it comes to this whole thing because there's gonna be different things in front of you, but that's why you're doing this, because you like that, right? You like flexibility and change and stuff like that. So I'm gonna load this track to deck 1, just to show you what that looks like. So you see a waveform, and typically you can zoom in and out of the waveform with this little knob right here. So I can make the waveform bigger or smaller, depending on what my preference is. And I'm gonna play this track because my next topic is volume control. So I'm playing this track and there's no sound, and that's because I have my volume down on channel 1. Can we go down a little bit? Oh. Can we shift down on the controller zoom so that people can see? Yes. So this controls my volume for channel 1. And thanks. Thank you. I thought that was a good one for today. I also recommend, if you're just getting started, to choose songs that are simpler. You can work your way up to songs that are more complex, but I really recommend like house beats or dance music with no lyrics. Lyrics makes it really hard to focus on the elements in a song and get from one track to the next. But you know, things that are very straightforward and loopable, that are pretty repetitive, are good things to start out with when you're trying to get comfortable with identifying elements in a track to blend with other elements in the next track. That gets really hard when you have a lot of things going on. So I chose a simple house beat today. I'm sorry. I didn't talk through what I just did. So I found another track and I loaded it to deck 2 so I can prepare thinking about mixing these songs together. But what I'm focused on right now is really the volume control. So I just want to show you the channel faders. This under number 1 is, can you see me? What I'm doing? Okay. Okay. Channel 1 fader, the volume on that. And I have another song on deck 2. I'm not gonna focus on mixing them right now. I'm just gonna show you how it works. Okay, so I have 2 tracks and I'm gonna figure out how to mix them. I'm gonna show you what that looks like for me. As I said, people use different things to get from point A to point B, but I do think that these funkier house beats that are pretty repetitive are, fun ways to get started and think about that. Also, I do have to mention that this right here is a crossfader, and if I have the crossfader all the way to one side, on the left side, it'll be playing the left deck. If I have it on the other side, it's playing the other song. If I have it in the middle, it's playing both songs at once. That doesn't sound very good. And there's a lot of debate on whether or not to use the crossfader, whether or not it's useful to you, but as I said, you're gonna build your toolkit and tailor it to how you wanna do it. I think that when it comes to quick cutting and hip hop DJing, the crossfader is very important. The crossfader it makes it really easy as opposed to doing this, which is not so, so it all depends on what you want to do, but just know that that's there for you. And typically, you have control over whether or not it even works at all somewhere on the controller, but I won't get into that because it looks different on every piece of equipment. But just know that the crossfader is available to you if you're interested in it. Otherwise, you can control the volume of each song right here, up and down. What is that, vertically? So yeah, let's talk about mixing. Let's talk about mixing some music together. Oh wait, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the EQ. Let's talk about these things in the middle. So this EQ section controls the high, mid, and low. So you can take certain elements out of the song in order to introduce elements of the other song when you're mixing. Or just to keep the listener interested so you don't tire their ear out hearing the same loop. You can just filter a little bit. And then we're back, we're excited again. So if I cut the low, I take the bass out. This is what it sounds like if I cut the mid. And if I cut the high. So those are very important when it comes to mixing songs together because it allows you to, keep it from sounding like too many sounds. You can cut a sound from one track to introduce it in the next track and things like that. So honestly, I think that the most important part of the EQ to focus on when you're first starting out DJing is the low. Cutting the bass out is probably like the easiest thing to do. These other ones, unless there's like vocals or other elements in the track, you might cut something out that you actually wanted to keep in a pinch, and then it sounds weird and you're feeling anxious and stuff like that, and we don't want that. So I really recommend focusing on cutting out the low in one track and introducing the low in another track. That's probably the easiest way to think about mixing and get started with mixing and get comfortable with mixing tracks together. So next, we must talk about beats per minute, BPM for short. Some people use the sync button. There's nothing wrong with that. It all depends on where you're trying to go and how much time you have. If you're mixing shorter songs, you might not have the time to do this and get them together. You might not be interested in that. That doesn't make you less of a DJ. It also is very helpful when you're just starting out and you're just getting comfortable with thinking about this. However, beat matching and being able to beat match by ear without a sync button is what you want to aspire to, let's say. It's not something that's easy. It's not something that you're going to pick up instantly. Definitely not. But there are some things that can help you. So that's why I was talking about dancing, right? When I'm up here and I'm doing my thing and I'm trying to keep time, I'm trying to think about the next song or whatever, I'm tapping my foot and I'm bobbing my head and I'm moving, you know. That also helps me keep my anxiety down when I'm performing. But, you know, I think that keeping a time, tapping your foot, maybe even counting actually is really helpful in BPM, beat matching, and all of those things. So if I want to control the BPM on this controller, I have this tempo slider right here for each deck. If the tempo slider is in the very middle at 0, that means that the track is at its normal BPM. It's not pitched up, it's not pitched down, it's not faster than it's supposed to be, and it's not slower. It's just what it was made as, the original BPM of the track. But I can move this up or down in order to get it to a different place if I wanted to. Maybe mix a track that's a little faster or mix a track that's a little slower, or I just want the track to be slower or faster to create a different feeling for, you know, whatever my objective is at that time. So if I want to match the BPMs, I really just have to get this number right here the same on both sides. And I use the tempo slider to do that. I would say rule of thumb is you don't necessarily want to change the tempo of the song that you're playing out. So if I'm playing this out, I'm not going to change this in order to match it to the track I'm trying to bring in, right? I would adjust this track that the crowd can't hear in order to bring it in at the same BPM as the track that's already playing. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay. Yes. Well, that's not necessary. You don't have to change it back. You can keep the BPM at what you want. If you wanted to slow it down, or, you know, you want to slow the overall tempo of your set down, you're more than welcome to do that, but you don't have to do any adjusting. Once you match the BPMs, you can just stay at that BPM, and then you're just matching every track to that same BPM after that. Thank you for asking a question. Questions are allowed, so if you have a question about anything, please just, you know, do something. Ooh, that's a great question. Yes, that's what I was saying about preparation. It's really nice to have a playlist together, do your research, dig in the crate. What I personally do to look for music, I go to Spotify and I make radio stations from tracks that I do like. There's a website called Beatport where you can buy music, and if you add certain music to your cart in Beatport, it'll recommend songs that are similar to that. That's how I find new music. So yes, you do want to look at the BPM when you're assembling your playlist, because you can't really go too far out of the range or else it'll sound kind of crazy. So you want tracks that are probably within like 20 plus or minus of each other, but going over 20, you're probably going too far, especially if you're just starting out. Yes, yes.
What about like jazz? I feel like that's the one where I really can't like, because I can hear sets.
Yes.
Like the songs like rain.
Yeah. I feel like when it comes to jazz, you don't have to worry about that. That's the fun thing about jazz. I feel like you could, a transition, it's not, you don't have to be as tight with it with other music, because jazz is kind of, you know, like it's free form, organic, not this rigid, like, I want to get from point A to point B very clearly. It's more so like, this is my canvas and I can throw things around. So I feel like with jazz, you could do you. Honestly, yes.
Is there any way to hear the next track that you can not one of those things?
No. You definitely don't have to do that. That's where headphones come in. But the reason why I don't have headphones is because I want you all to hear me go through that process. But typically you would have a pair of headphones and you can hear the track that's coming in. Like if I wanted to hear this track, like I have this track playing, and I want to hear this track, I would hit this button, and I'll be able to hear this deck in my headphones, and the crowd will not. So that's how you do it. Very, very, very important to have a pair of headphones when you're first starting out. Yes?
My cousin used to stopwatch.
Ooh.
This is like many years.
Wait, no, that's actually really interesting. I feel like there's probably something developed where you don't have to do that anymore. But, the people who came before us definitely paved the way for these things that we have available to us now. So I'm grateful for all the innovative ways that people found out a way to do this, because a lot of the things that you see on the controller were developed from people's habits and ideas and innovations and their toolkit that they developed around the music. So then we have a sampler, we have these things that make it easier for us to do the thing of DJing, because people were thinking about those things. So, were there any other questions? Yep. Ooh, that's actually, so sometimes you might have tracks that are not mixed and mastered the same. So you kind of have to, you're controlling the EQ for real. Like, it's not like, oh, everything's perfect and they're the same level, everything's all good. No. Some tracks are really old and they sound really low. Some tracks are new and they sound low. Some tracks are really loud. It all depends. But you will have to adjust in order to make sure that even if this is in the middle, that doesn't mean that these tracks are the same volume, because they're mixed and mastered differently. So you have to I want to hear the vocals on this track, so I'm going to turn it up. Definitely I do that, especially with vocals. I think that's a good way to do it. With the bass, the low, I don't recommend that because you might blow out somebody's sound system. But with these two at the top, I do think you probably would find yourself increasing them when you're mixing. Any other question? Hey.
What about pitch?
Okay, the pitch. So I have a pitch control on, so I don't hear the difference. And actually, that's a great question. So this track is at its normal normal tempo. So it sounds normal, right? And I'm gonna turn the pitch control off, which is this master tempo right here. And when I slow it down, you hear that it's slowed down, right? But if I have the pitch control on, it sounds like the same. So it depends on what you're going for. You might be going for a slowed down sound. Maybe you're playing a Halloween set, I don't know. But, typically I have the pitch control on so that I don't hear that slowed down, Or it sounds really fast this way. But if I have a pitch control on, it sounds the same no matter whether I'm speeding it up, slowing it down, whatever. And I think most controllers and equipment probably have that feature these days. So you don't really have to worry about, unless you're playing vinyl. If you're playing vinyl, I'm not totally sure. I know that the pitch would probably be affected. In that case, you would want to choose tracks that are similar in BPM so you don't create that distortion for your listener. Anything else before I move on? Hey.
Just a clarifying question about
Yes.
so if it's
The tempo, yeah.
the tempo
Yeah. The pitch. Yeah. So the pitch is locked. So it'll be its master pitch no matter what. It won't sound faster, it won't sound slower, even though I'm moving it faster or slower. Was there somebody else? I think there was somebody else. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, yes, typically speaking, the vocal is usually the high. Yeah, that's usually where that lives. But sometimes it is the mid too. It depends on how it's arranged. But typically, in my experience, if you want to boost some vocals, I would try with the high first. Anything else? I like this. Hey. Mm-hmm. What do you mean? Like instead of matching the tempos before, you'd play the track and then use the tempo to? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like does it?
Well, yes, because yes, you changing the tempo is you setting yourself up to beat match. Yes. Anything else?
You know, like questions or like a comment.
Yeah.
Think when you mix, um, like for example, if I'm mixing an original song and along with the sampling,
Mm-hmm.
it's best to have like ear trained to match the to match the melody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So sometimes people do match melody or match other elements and not the beat. In order to get from point A to point B because the beats just won't match on certain songs. So there's different ways to achieve this. Some beat matching does not even have to be the crux of your style of DJing. If you are creating, like you were saying, what's your name?
Brother A.
What is it? Brother A. Okay. Brother A was telling me that, you know, when you're mixing songs that, like for instance, maybe a soul song and maybe a hip hop song and they don't match at all, it's really hard to get them to sync up by beat. You could definitely find some kind of phrase or some element of the song that does match and kind of bring it in that way using other controls on the controller. And there's plenty of YouTube videos out there for further information on that. But there's so many ways to approach this. And like I said, the original DJs were just selectors. They just chose the music. They just curated. So if you're doing that, you're most of the way there. Track selection is probably 90% of DJing. Other people might not agree with that, but I think that having good tracks will get you most of the way. So yes, where was I? I was gonna try and mix these songs together. Okay, so I have this song. I just realized that I didn't tell you something. First and foremost, I'm sorry. The cue versus the play. I'm not going to get into these other things like the hot cue and things like that because they look different on different controllers. But the cue button is, it's like, it's what it says, so it's a cue. It's queuing up a part of the song that you want to play. But if I just hold the cue button and I let it go, it's gonna go back to that same point. It's not gonna keep playing the song. So this is for like tapping a beat in. Depending on what kind of music you're playing, you might benefit from timing yourself in that way, using the cue button. Yes.
Can you use the Q button to make a loop?
Yes. Well, you can use, so these buttons up here, I wasn't going to talk about looping, but I will a little bit. Just because I feel like it's, it's kind of advanced and it looks different on different controllers. But this is how you make a loop, right up here. This is the in and this is the out. So you hit this button when you want to start the loop, and then you hit this when you want to stop it. And the Q button, if you use that, it would just play your loop. So I can show you what that looks like. Okay, so I just made a loop. That wasn't a good one, but so you have to be on the time, right? And that takes practice. That takes, getting comfortable with that, tapping your foot, bobbing your head, listening to the music probably before you actually even step up to the controller, being comfortable with the music so that you can, So, back to what I was saying about the cue. If I cue something up and I'm like, ooh, I like this, I want this to keep playing, I have to hit the play button while I'm holding the cue in order for that to continue playing from where it's playing right now. If I don't do that, like I said, ooh, I like this, but I don't hit the play button, I just ruined the part. So, and I feel like that's not so obvious, so I just want to stress that, if you choose to use the cue because it helps you count, make sure you hit the play so you can continue on with your groove. So let's get into this. So something I didn't mention, I'm sorry, about this jog wheel thing, right? I can make little adjustments to the tempo, not the tempo, but I can make little adjustments to the track where it's playing at and things like that. I can nudge it further or slow it down a little bit to match the other track a little bit better by touching the side of the jog wheel. I can speed it up a little bit or slow it down. Sorry, I'm slowing it down with the jog wheel, or I can speed it up with the jog wheel. Like, let's say I started the song, I counted the song in and it's not quite right, and I need to make a little adjustment, I push it. I can push it further or push it back on the side. But you don't want to touch the top because it'll stop. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to scratch, y'all. I'm sorry. I want to learn so bad. But yeah, so yeah. But as you can see, what I did when I blended these songs together was just cut the bass from one and turn the bass up on the other, and then I got over there, crossed the bridge. So yeah, if I'm preparing to back to your point about adjusting the BPM after you bring a track in, because I'm preparing this next track on deck 1, I would just bring it down to the BPM that I'm already playing, right? So I'm taking this from 127 to 123.9. Oh man, I'm about to be out of time. I'm having so much fun with y'all. And I don't have headphones, so I'm just gonna struggle through this. Before I go, well, I actually don't know how much time I have left. How much time do I have? 10 minutes? Okay, cool. So some other things that I didn't point out, I'm sorry. On the controller, like on here, on the screen, you can see how much time you have left. So you see it says remain. Can you see that clearly? Up here is how much time I have left on the track that's playing. So I can chill for 4 minutes, or not chill for 4 minutes, but I can breathe, you know? I don't have to be searching for the next track. I can walk around, you know, maybe bust a groove, you know, go use the bathroom if I got to. I got 4 minutes. I got 3 minutes and 57 seconds now, you know? So that's really helpful in calming your nerves when you're getting a set together and you're up there and you're trying to keep the groove going. You have 4 minutes or however long to find your next track. So you can breathe a little bit, take a deep breath, and dance. And before I go, I just want to show you the crossfader and how it can be fun. Also, I'm gonna turn that off. If I was doing this in front of a crowd, like actually performing, obviously I wouldn't do that. I would have to keep that playing. But because I don't have headphones, I just want to take you through what I would be doing in the headphones as I'm getting it ready, right? So, not every song is gonna start off how you want it to start. Sometimes you might want to bring in a certain phrase. You might want to start at a certain point. Sometimes songs have long intros. So I would use this to search in the track to get to the point where I want to go, and I would hit the cue so it stays there, right? That's what I would do in order to set my track up to bring it in. So let's see. I want to start at Work That Body, right? Okay. So that's me using the crossfader. I'm all the way on this side, so I'm only playing this one track. So this track is still playing. sure that I have time for any questions, but wasn't that cool? I love the crossfader. I think the crossfader is really fun for quick cutting. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope that I was helpful today. And like I said, if you have any questions, any further questions that I don't answer in this last couple of minutes, just hit me up. Scan that QR code, please, and share what you felt. Even if you don't have a question and you just want to tell me how you felt or how I can do better, I'm open to that. Hey.
How big do you think your drive would be? Like your whole library or
Okay.
your USB drive?
That is a great question. USBs. I highly recommend buying a flash drive so you can store your music somewhere separate than your computer, because for some reason computers, like the space is just not enough these days. I know that my computer is full storage, so you want to get like a USB. My USB is 64 gigs. I used to have one that was a terabyte, but you just want to find one that's fast for you, so I definitely wouldn't get anything under 64 gigs. I would start at 64 because you're gonna have a lot of music. Music takes up a lot of space. Hey, yeah.
I'm deep. What's the history with like calling it a track versus like playlist?
A track versus a playlist?
Yeah, because a track is like multiple songs, or is it
No,
multiple
playlist
songs?
is multiple songs. Playlist is
Oh, a
your
track.
list. A track is just one track.
So why is it
Just
called
one
a
song.
track and not like a song?
What'd you say?
Why is it called a track versus like a song?
I would have said, okay. Okay, it has to do with records?
Because they're banded, each one of the tracks.
Okay, got you. Okay. I mean, I was gonna say that it sounds cooler, but yeah. Hey.
Hi, I wanted to ask about keys. Like when you start like switching things that are like more melodic and could potentially clash.
Yeah.
Is there something on your controller that tells you what key things are in? Or do you do that prior to like uploading them?
That's actually a great question. Hold on. Actually, right here, up here, it's kind of blurry, so you can't see it, but it does show you the key.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it shows you the key of each. I mean, but it depends on where you get your music from. They might not all have that available. But for the most part, if you like buy your music straight from the source, you'll be able to see the key of the track. Hey, yeah.
Follow up to that, how do you match the key?
So you remember what I said about pitch control? If your pitch is controlled, then key is not so much of an issue. Yeah. Hey, yeah.
Sorry. Because I saw for this track that you had like a loop that you used, but you didn't create the loop yourself, so
Yes.
those are the auto ones.
Mhm.
With those, do you have to hit that and it loops from like the previous however many counts, whether it's like 4 counts or
Yes.
or whatever. So it's like once you get through the section that you want to loop, that's when you hit the like auto loop button.
Let's actually see that. It goes forward, so it's not back. It's like if you know your part is coming up and you want to loop that, then you gotta hit that button before. Yeah.
So it's the following however many.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey.
When you use the outside the jog wheel to make like a tempo adjustment,
Yeah.
is that temporary or like how?
It's temporary, yes. Yeah. It's temporary. You'll be moving through the track faster, so like it'll speed it up to, but it'll be playing from that point. Like it's not like it's gonna sound slowed down or sped up for the rest of the track. It's just gonna rest wherever you let it rest. Yeah, so this is just temporary to get to. I'm just trying to match them real quick, and then it'll play normal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey.
Hi, I have a question. I heard some DJs mention that they find it helpful to bring in a song, but they'll count to say 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when they get to 1, that's when they bring in the next song. Do you find that helpful at all?
Yeah, I think that tapping, counting, whatever, yeah. With this, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
keeping up with the track. And so even having this tapping is really helpful for me. Maybe not counting in my head because I feel like I'm thinking about other things. So it's not coming out as 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm definitely counting though with my fingers, Anything? Hey?
Do you notice the difference between waves and MP3 sound-wise?
That's actually a great question. I want to say it depends more on the source than that. So if you're getting it from like straight from the source, like you're buying it off Beatport or something like that, then I think that you'll probably get the best quality track. So the MP3 or the Wave, I don't think that really makes a huge difference.
Except for like your storage, though, waves take up more gigs.
Yes, yeah, it does make a difference in that way, yeah. But when it comes to like playing out the quality of the track, I think it really just depends on where you downloaded that file from. Anything else? Thank you so much, everybody.
Give it up for Low Iron of Great Circles, greatcircles.net. And Low Iron, so when's your show on Great Circles? Let us know where we can hear you.
Okay, so I have a radio show on Great Circles. It's second Mondays from 6 to 7, and I focus on like original songs and samples. So I think you might like my show. But yeah.
No, not with us, WPPM, but our friends Great Circles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, Great
Yes.
Circles. So you can listen online. You can come to their shop or whatever you want to do. But yeah.
Is it every second Monday?
It's every second Monday. Yep, from 6 to 7.
Yes. So shout out Great Circles. Thank you so
Yes,
much, Low Iron.
Thank you.
Thank you. But yeah, just want to also mention to folks who are new to PhillyCAM, welcome. We're so happy to have you here, and we're so excited to be, to have partnered with Great Circles for this awesome workshop. And we are home to an FM community radio station. Great Circles is awesome online radio. I hope we can continue to collab. But if you're interested in PhillyCAM and learning more about community radio, even on the FM, just come and talk to me. I'm Allison, the radio program manager. Thanks. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.